Welcome back to Jersey Matters. How safe is the train bridge you might be driving under, or if you're on the train, you're driving across? That's a good question, and the answer is difficult to find out. Here's somebody that knows all about that. Curtis Tate is a reporter at The Record. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it. What is the difficulty in getting that information?
Well, the difficulty so far has been that the two different administrations, the Christie administration and the Murphy administration now, have declined our requests to review their bridge inspection reports. And they cite pretty much the same security rationale. That is, if we release this information publicly, it could cause harm to rail infrastructure.
If you want information on most other bridges, you could get it, right?
That's correct. The Federal Highway Administration maintains a database of highway bridge conditions all around the country, and you can find very basic information about their condition, but you cannot find similar information about rail bridges as easily, even though NJ Transit is a public agency and it is public infrastructure. It's regulated by the Federal Railroad Administration, which does not keep that kind of data.
And you've made a Freedom of Information request for this information. They turned you down.
It was an Open Public Records Act request, an OPRA request, and I made one request. The first request I made in October, and then the second request in February, and the answer both times was no.
And you were shocked? You were surprised at that?
Well, I was a little surprised the second time it happened because Governor Murphy, when he was campaigning for governor, had pledged to open up government and be more transparent, and he had said a lot of things about the way NJ Transit was run that made us think that he's going to change things when he takes office. But in this case, there was no change. He simply continued the policy of his predecessor.
Do you know if this is the policy across the country? Are other states like this?
I can say from personal experience, no, because a few years ago I was doing pretty extensive reporting on oil train derailments, and there was a similar debate about the security of the documentation of, basically where these trains go and how many times a week and how much cargo they were moving. And some states actually did say, we have no problem releasing this information. We see no security threat here. So the argument is so similar in New Jersey and I suspect other states too. But the fact is that Pennsylvania and New York were perfectly willing to give up the information about oil trains, but New Jersey wasn't willing to give up information about oil trains, and they're also not willing to give up information about the condition of railroad bridges.
So let's get back to their reasoning for 1 second. This safety concern, you would assume the safety concern is that they believe that someone could do something nefarious, that there could be a terrorist attack using that information to take down a bridge and hurt citizens somehow. Yet, couldn't you do the same thing to all the other bridges that you can get information on? That hasn't been done, has it?
Well, that's right, and actually there have been potential plots against various landmarks, the Brooklyn Bridge, for example, but those never took place. Those were never carried out.
And it was never based on the safety information, right? I mean, as far as we know, that seems like, pardon the pun, that seems like a bridge too far. It doesn't seem like that is valid.
They weren't going after the Brooklyn Bridge based on information that they weren't allowed to see.
Or that somehow it was unsafe somewhere. So what I'm trying to figure out their reasoning for this. And so what they're saying to you is, if we have unsafe bridges, instead of fixing them, we aren't going to let that information out because it could be used against our citizenry, as if these outside forces are the bigger threat and not the unsafe bridge itself.
Well, if you wanted to be cynical about this, and I'm not saying that I am, but one problem that you create if you release this information to the public is it basically shows the public where the needs are, where the repairs need to be made, where the investment needs to be made, and therefore the public can then pressure their lawmakers to demand that the investment be made you know, in those places, and perhaps the agency simply doesn't want that because it's strapped for funds.
I know it cost a lot, but are you taking this to court? Because I would think that the public right to know this outweighs any real security risk.
Well, the decision about whether to take this to court is a bit above my pay grade, I think you understand, but it's certainly an option we would want to consider.
In the meantime, you're going to keep pressing.
Oh, of course. We're going to come at them again and try to at least get them to give up some information. We don't actually know what's in the reports. That's the problem. If we knew what they might be willing to give us, then we'd ask for just those things.
And have you talked to people in the administration specifically, or are you just going by the answer they give you, and is the answer in writing?
The answer is in writing. In fact, the Attorney General's office last month produced a 50-page document in defense of NJ Transit's decision to not give us any access to the records.
We'll keep pressing. We appreciate the work you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's Curtis Tate, reporter at The Record. Jersey Matters continues right after this. Still to come on Jersey Matters, why are researchers now talking about dancing in dealing with Parkinson's disease? We'll explain next.